Hey y'all, it is Queen Delia. We out here in her kitchen in nature. So this is our first episode of In Her Kitchen. I hope that you can hear me. We gotta get some equipment in place, but right now we, the human with their connection, have to follow the plan as it's set forth. So, if you've been following my social medias, you know that I was led to stop wearing a bra. And I got old clothes, so if y'all see some nipples, it was just meant for y'all to see. And I wear men's boxers, which I recommended, so y'all gonna see all of that shit. But that's irrelevant because we're human and we all got the same body parts. Come. Hold on. I think I gotta go rescue a dog. Yay. So everything I do is about life, capital L, and what I experienced through life, capital L, and lowercase l, human life. So we are going to cook some French toast with just egg. I already put some seasoning in here, cinnamon, a little pinch of salt. My husband made the milk, but he only used coconut milk, water, and a little bit of agave. So he's still learning. And I'm gonna make the French toast with that just egg mixture. And then after the French toast is done, I'm just gonna cook that mixture up because some of us, capital U, that are connected to divinity, we be eating food and we don't know what it's about. So, and we see these wars on social media where people argue about should grits or spaghetti be sweet and this and that. So we come from a diversity of gods. So one God likes sweet grits, another God don't. We are all the same, all the gods are one. As you can hear, they just all got their own thoughts and opinions. But when it get down to it, ride or die together, but ain't no die because they don't die, they multiply because humans are consistently born. So the nature of God is consistently in flux and changing. So I, the human, am laughing because I am putting together all the pieces that I've been shown up to the point of making this video. So we can get started as I tell you what I have been experienced because I have been called to document everything. I've been called to document everything, but I was still learning how to do that. So when Facebook first came out, I was like documenting shit on Facebook that people thought should be on Twitter, and I was still navigating the whole social media through the eyes of them. So if you consider me as a newborn God, I don't know shit. Like I come down here and they got all these social rules that are new to me because I, the God, had never been to Earth. So how do I know how to promote shit on social media? I have to learn. The human has to learn. And in turn, the human can then teach because I, the human, have been through all the steps. So the missteps that I took going through social media, not monetizing super early, not being more structured like some people said I could have been, like those were good rules for somebody else, somebody who came to Earth to follow rules. That ain't me. I had to come to accept that. I had to grow up into my God nature to know that like I legit ain't meant to be following rules. But as a new human, you don't know how to articulate that. And as life would have it, capital L, my granddaughter is going through something similar. She is in first grade and was crying to my daughter Tay. I'll tell you more about that daughter relationship shortly. But she was crying to my daughter Tay about not wanting to grow up. This is Maddie, I believe Maddie's God self, talking to her human mother about her, Maddie's, capital Her, human, lowercase h, experience as an uppercase human, God in flesh. So listen to that again, it makes sense. If you don't get it, you can go to my social media and see how I've been taught to use capitalization to separate my lowercase m business, lowercase b, from their business, capital T, capital B, which you'll see sometimes called my business, capital M, capital B. So there is clear separation between me, the human, and me, the God. But we are one, so you'll see my posts intermingle and mix. Just yesterday, or maybe early this morning, because I've been up for a lot of the night, formulating, getting information about how shit is working. So you'll see that I've posted for many months, getting y'all used to how to understand capital M, me, and lowercase m, me, and how we integrate, and how I have been called to embody the capital M, me. So I'm gonna just talk how I talk, no more explaining. I can pin this video as an explanation for those who are new. I, lowercase human, I, or non-emoji I, forgot to get oil, so hold on, look at my butt. Come. Let's come. You may have been able to hear my conversation inside, talking to my husband. So I have been training him how to live this life, which is how we were at the brink of divorce court, because I didn't know how to live the life. So what looks like crazy on an ordinary day, which is a book that I read a long time ago. Y'all should read it. I think it was good, and it served a purpose that is connected now. But what looks like crazy on an ordinary day is really God shit. DJ Khaled has God Is out, and he just kept saying God is, God is, God is, and I didn't realize until this very moment why I was so annoying. Wait, let me cook my food. So I'm putting some oil. We, capital W, don't measure, because they tell me what to do. And y'all say that like I cook by my ancestors, H-E-R, all caps. My spirit tell me what to do, or I stop seasoning. But y'all ain't lying, even though people think it's funny. So DJ Khaled kept saying God is, God is, God is, and it annoyed me so much, and I was like, why is he wearing that out? But what he was doing is programming me, lowercase m, you, lowercase y, and the world, so that we can get on our God is vertical path, which I talked about on TikTok. So God is, God is, God is, or God did, whatever he said. So either God is equals goddess, and God did also equal goddess, because of how we talk, AAVE. So I posted a Twitter thread, capital them posted a Twitter thread through me about how to tag famous people in your stuff, but also how to translate AAVE, which is God's language of love, into proper English, which is Kiana Sanders. We'll talk about that maybe. But anyway, into proper English that the masses can understand. So I did a Twitter thread explaining how to do that and showing examples that some people, again, may have thought didn't make sense or were crazy. But if you're listening to this, then they gave you a true key on how to maximize your social media accounts and get engagement. So I've been living proof, a living witness, at the same time, a living testimony, title case, because we up here right now. But I, the human, have been a living witness, living testimony, going through these trials and tribulations and experiences and being shown by them how to make sense of everything. So DJ Khaled just saying God is, God is, God is, talking about He, the God that we've all been taught to worship, was annoying to me because I didn't recognize that I was coming into her, H-E-R, all caps, power, P-O-W, all caps, H-E-R. So hearing that was just getting them madder and madder and madder and putting into my human spirit like this ain't right. So that when the time came for me to articulate how it wasn't right, I was able to do so. But I, the human, have the ability to do multiple things at a time, including cook and talk, so that my food is not continuing to get compromised. I don't know. Y'all know words. So, because we still waiting on the world to get on her business, I'm making it do with what I have. So my electric skillet is from Walmart, and it's the cheapest one they had because I was waiting on y'all to bring that money in for her business so that we can start getting the top of the line things that we deserve. And this body movement is actually how they first started talking to me. So that moving my body is so out of my nature, human nature, because we've been taught that moving that way is, we've been taught that moving that way is a sin, or as you get older, it becomes whorish, or what other word do they call people who move their body in connection with nature? Y'all get called, I've been lied on and called a hoe. So, and I've had 3 serious sex partners in my life. One timer, and I didn't kiss that one timer. And so the 3 that I had multiple sex with, I kissed them, and I kissed one other person the very first time as he was trying to show me, the human, how to kiss, and pecs with 3 others as I was 3 integrating, we can say, they want me to say, integrating my humanity with my godness. So back to moving the body. We're taught that we cannot move our body in a certain way. And it's so stupid because little girls who, from a human standpoint, don't know shit about sex and sexuality are, so I need to include little boys too, because the indoctrination that is accused now of being the gay agenda starts off by being a gay agenda. When we shit on little boys for how they move their bodies. Like, a little boy don't know shit about sex and sexuality, but he gets accused of being something that he is, but that he's not. So he is connected to nature, H-E-R. So he will move as nature moves. And if you look out amongst you, and I just happen to be outside, which I guess is synchronistic to how we got here. But if you look at how boys move, they move like nature. They move like the leaves on trees connected to nature's roots. Now, okay, so nature, we are taught that God is up here, but nature is everywhere, including going down into your root and up into your crown. So nature is in hell and also in heaven. So the human is laughing as these connections are made. So I've been taught to move my body in a way to connect to my divine nature, and sex, sensuality is all part of nature's chaos. So like many of you who are listening, we've been taught through church, society, family, that sex is bad, that fucking is bad. Fucking has been used against us. A few months ago, I told my son, I got a message from them that I was going to write a book about fat black bitches, or have a character named Fat Black Bitch. So it came, it's something over there. Okay. But nature can show me all kind of different species and beings that I've never seen before. So there was some strange animal over there that was kind of like a bird, but also like a lizard. So what if it's a baby dragon? Which, anyway, if you know, you know. So nature, fat black bitches. Fat black bitches have been getting fucked. So men, when they deal with quote unquote fat black bitches, all they want to do is fuck them in secret and then go back to their trophy wife and make love. So the whole concept of fucking and making love is even a human construct, because nature do all that shit. You see animals fucking and hitting it and quitting it, and you also see animals in nature that have long-term commitments. There's room for everything. So if you are a person who was born for monogamy, which some of us were, okay, hold on. The human gotta wash her hands so that I can deliver this message without distraction, because I'm a human. My husband, who is aware of his divinity but don't call himself God, carries a little towel when he cooks, and I never liked doing it. But now I do it because it cuts down on the distraction of me having to go in the house, the human having to go in the house and clean her lowercase hands, because she was taught that, okay, here's a good message. She, the human, was taught that cleanliness is next to godliness. But she, the God in human form, knows that cleanliness is godness. But dirty is godness too. So the human has to get on board with her God shit so that she can cut the bullshit, basically. So fat black bitches get fucked. Other bitches, quote unquote, make love, because we are taught that there is a preciousness in making love. So preciousness is a funny word to be given, because we the humans know of the movie Precious, which is a good example for the message that I am called to deliver right now. So Precious, who just so happened to be in the news recently, is a good idea of how fat black bitches are treated. So if you have not seen the movie Precious, and I guess I'm talking maybe to white people, because I think a lot of, or most black people have. But if you have not seen the movie Precious, go out and rent or buy it, because we do need to put back into the black pocket as a part of our reparations plan. Hashtag Black PRP, Black Personal Reparations Plans, which is the plan that all of God's chosen ones need to put in place so that y'all can start bringing in the riches that abound in heaven, which is in your higher self. Now, there are also riches in your so-called lower self. And it's punished, right? Because sex work is penalized, criminalized, and shitted on alive. So money can come from everywhere because God is one. So everything about you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or we can call the God, the bitch, and the ugly, is one, and is a part of your reparations plan for the very difficult task that you took on when you chose to come to incarnate on this planet. And I guess what you may have heard people saying is true. Like, people that incarnate here, all of us are special. A few of us are chosen. Or should I say, a few of us wake up to the fact that we are capital C chosen. So Precious, the most famous fat black bitch, and her mother in the show, Monique, another vilified fat black bitch in real life and in that movie, are both great examples of God's humanity and how it's gone unseen, mistreated, vilified, villainized, and everything else that we do to keep fat black bitches down. Because if we keep God down in any form, this is them telling me this, if we keep God down in any form, then we keep the God in us down in every form. So I, the human, listening to them as they explain to me how they taught me, have gone through stages of experiencing life. So in human design, I am a 6'2" emotional manifester. So the sixth line, in addition to the third line, goes through an experiential phase. So if you have a 3 or a 6 in your human design profile, then you have a high chance of getting the experiences early in life that help you get to your God nature sooner. That's news to me, but it makes sense. And people can prove it because it's a lot of 3rd and 6th lines that are going to, y'all hiding, but y'all gonna start giving y'all testimonies and sharing your stories as living witnesses of all the experiences that you have come through. So you've gone through them, you have come through them. Now you need to allow the wisdom of those experiences to come through you. So this brings us to Fat Black Bitches and the course that I was given, which is called Fat Black Bitches, Fuck Your Feelings. And of course, I'll get a lot of other sayings to go along with that because I, the all-seeing I, has bright ideas that come through me, which is why I started using the hashtag I have bright ideas. I started using it just with that, and then I started adding the light bulb because on Twitter I would track which bright ideas were coming through as a way for the chosen ones, those who understand my message, to go back and look for that icon. So last night, after I posted that long thread on Twitter and Facebook, and I did that TikTok video, I, all-seeing I, third eye, capital I, emoji I, showed me that I has bright ideas. So with the hashtag I have bright ideas, it started playing. Then I started using that hashtag with the light bulb emoji, and just this morning / last night I added in the all-seeing eye symbol that some of y'all have been getting made fun of for using, along with the light bulb. So information from above comes to us and through us in stages, bringing us back to the 3-6, the third and sixth profile lines in human design. Everybody gets information through stages, but not all of us learn to see how the information correlates as a method of us to elevate with our God nature. And remember, we both elevate and descend, because just like Jesus, we have to go to and through hell to elevate into our God selves. Now, Jesus is very controversial. I've talked about Jesus. I've been in and out of the church throughout my life, and now I am out of the church as we know it, but I am in the new timeline, the new earth church, which we can call it. And I guess you could say I'm called, capital C, to preach a new word, capital W and capital N, because new as in never before heard in this way from a person who looks like me, right? White people have been allowed to channel in peace. Abraham exists. Abraham Hicks exists through Esther. Bashar exists through some other white, maybe a little Asian-y looking man. I don't know exactly what that man is. Neville Goddard, like everybody white has been given in this here America, which God is working on. And this America is basically the earth, since America has garnered so much power over the globe. So what did Jeffrey Wright say? Reverend Dr. Pastor Jeffrey Wright. God damn America. When Obama was running for president, there was so much shit around this goddamn America, and it's Egypt connection. It's so funny. So this is the human making the connection about the talks that I've been hearing through Extra AF, a person with my with similar gifts as my gifts. Anyway, she did a reading on me that I posted about came super late, but I received it when I was ready to capital R receive it. So in her reading, she talked about me having a connection to Egypt that was very important for this lifetime. She mentioned, so I just said thank you, because I be knowing that I go through things that for a reason, but that knowing was lowercase k most of the time. But when I say thank you, it's because I be capital B, knowing capital N. So I went to Egypt with Jeffrey Wright and Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago and their family. So I was very much in my experiential God phase of life. That was the very first time, ironically, that I cut all my hair off, and I took a picture in front of the Sphinx and in front of all the pyramids. So all the connections of my connection to Egypt are coming back based on Extra AF's reading, a tarot card that I pulled. I think it was it the Ace of Cups? Showing my cup flowing over. Hashtag manifesting millionaire, which was given to me last night, which is funny. So goddamn America, Jeffrey Wright was demonized, literally. They tried to take the God out of him, the God, G-O-D, because he is capital C connected. Some preachers aren't. That's another story. But he is capital H, capital I, God, capital G, connected, capital C. So I didn't know that at the time. I knew that he was a person who spoke to me through his messages. Some of my family had been gone to his church for decades, and I used to visit sometimes. So it just so happened that my aunt invited me to go with them to Egypt. And I was living in upstate New York at the time, and their church was in Chicago, so I met them at the New York City airport and flew with them over to Egypt. That was during my first marriage. My son was born. He was 3 years old, I think, because this was probably in 2008. Yeah, because I only lived in upstate New York for 1 year to get that experience of going to Egypt, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise, because my ex's parents were helping us keep our son. So I want to thank them for the experiences that I got through them and living with that family. Experiences that I didn't appreciate until mostly this moment, but I have been opening up to the connection that they meant for my life. My sister friend Bridget from college has been very instrumental in my life, and she and her blended family, which she only calls blended for the sake of showing social media and the world how to have this type of connection with the people that are brought into your life. But her and her family showed me, the human, how to start accepting the experiences with the people from my past as a part of my God self. So, like, I don't have any more hate or negativity in my heart toward the people who didn't really treat me right, or who I didn't know how to treat right. So hopefully nobody has any beef with me, but if you do, then that's yours to work through, and I can help you work through it because I work through my own. And I've documented all of it from the moment that I awakened on my social media pages. So you can just go through my content and you'll be able to probably tell when I, human, are talking and when we, God, are talking. So Egypt connection. So we went to Egypt, and over there, like, I was really going through it. I wanted to divorce my husband, whom I thought I never should have married, but I married because I was looking for a quick get out of poverty scheme. And the way that he was talking made me believe that he was the vessel through which I could get out of poverty. And what I did is got deeper into poverty and had to work with my current husband to get out of poverty. But as luck would have it, because I, the God, had not yet awakened, I had to get back into poverty, which is where I'm teetering now, in order to document, as in I Am a Genius book title, to document my growth through that into my God self. And you can notice how my posture stood up, because that's when I recognized that this ain't God. This is godliness. This is God-like, but this is God. God is perfect posture that works for your body type. So your perfect posture ain't gonna look like my perfect posture, but the only reason my perfect posture is able to come into fruition is because I, the human, was led by my God self to start taking yoga classes so that I could get into my body and know how perfect alignment, capital P, capital A, can feel, and so that I can teach others how to feel it through their body, through my demonstrations. So when I went to yoga teacher training, I intuitively knew that I wasn't going to be a standard teacher, because I don't enjoy having to get up and get dressed and groom myself in a way that is pleasing to other people. I like to get up and do what I do, but society doesn't make that possible, or doesn't allow us to believe, capital B, in that possibility, capital P. So I was given step-by-step breadcrumbs, baby steps, information toward my God self, and how to get there, and how to get there in a way that I can show others, because I'm a shower, right? I am meant to be seen. I am meant to be observed, literally, in human design chart life. I am meant to teach my way, because I was born to do things my way. So many of you, like myself, were penalized, like my granddaughter, Madison, who's going through her thing with, quote unquote, growing up in this society, penalized for doing things our way, like my son, who is living with his family in New York, the same family that I talked about earlier being so clutch for my growth. But these kids are taught that their way is wrong, and then we grow up into adults, me, the human, that don't have any connection, capital C, with my, capital M, way, capital W. Because it's been taken out of us at such an early age, as early as the cradle, for some people whose families are heavily in touch with society and society's ways. I was going to say society and her ways, lowercase r, because capital society, capital H-E-R, have different ways, capital W, that we are coming into right now. So my daughter is actually looking, my daughter Tay, my stepdaughter Tay, is actually looking into a way for her to homeschool her kids on a permanent basis, and keep them connected to their imaginations, play, and all of the ways that God teaches us humans how to become gods. That's deep. So Egypt, I went over there in one instance that really fucked me up and fucked up the trip kind of for me, literally, was we were told, because of the climate in Egypt, or what we were told of the climate in Egypt, that it was not safe for us to do anything alone. We were right. Ooh, that smells good. Let me see. Here's my toast. This is just egg, cinnamon, vanilla, a little dash of salt, coconut, milk, water, and agave. So I want to cook the sausage first. Morning stuff. I'm cooking the sausage first. This is an in her kitchen cooking lesson tip. I'm cooking the sausage first because even though it's vegan or plant-based, it still has some flavor that will go into the eggs. So I want to pick up that seasoning. And I'll just throw that in there too. I want to pick up that seasoning in the eggs, because I have to change the flavor of the eggs from a French toast batter to a more savory flavor. So all my cooking skills come from her. Capital H, capital E, capital R. Like the artist, H-E-R. The God is H-E-R. She be known. So Egypt, we were over there, and we were all at breakfast, and I wanted something from the gas station, and the pastor's grandson, who was a very cute, attractive little boy, really, because I was probably going into 30, and he was on his way to college. It's funny that last night I watched the show Tales on BET, and the episode was called Hot in Her, which I'm connecting to this story right now, but Hot in Her by Nelly. And the professor, let's call her me, was a virgin who wound up having sex with her student. So I didn't have sex with the grandson, but if I hadn't been protected, capital P, I probably would have, because my humanness, my humanity was going through some shit, as I mentioned. I wanted to be divorced. I was having pre and postpartum syndrome / depression. So the whole motherhood thing was fucking me up in all types of ways. And so this cute boy who I was able to talk to easily because he saw me, rightfully so, as a teacher, but I'm also a pretty thing. And so when I cut my hair off, y'all are able to see how beautiful I am. And this bald-headed person living in a society and on a trip with heads full of weaves and relaxers is fun, exciting, pretty, down to earth, spiritual. So I'm like a conundrum. So in this young boy's eyes, young man's eyes, who is also capital C connected, I was probably something that, yeah, he would have hit if I was not capital P protected. So I asked him to walk with me to the store because we had been walking around the property together. Often it was him and I. Some other times it was us and other people. So the human realizes that she's telling other people's business, but the God knows that it's all capitalized H-E-R, capital B business, because it was brought into my capital E experience for a capital R reason. So if people hear it and see it, I'm not lying, so there's no reason for anybody to be offended or create any unnecessary drama. There's enough drama in folks' lives already and in the world in general. But I'm a storyteller, so I was called capital C to share my capital M business, capital B. A lot of us get worried about sharing our business, not realizing that we don't have no business. All business, when you become aware, capital A, is God business, capital G, capital B. So a lot of us are scared to be in her peace, which is the name of a course that I was given to start on October 1st for 5 weeks, weekly live sessions. So I was always scared to monetize my spiritual gifts because I was taught that it's bad to monetize your spiritual gifts. And the way that I was taught this is through preachers and seeing how preachers fuck with the people's money, capital T, capital P. Because people who go to church really are connected, or at least looking for a connection to God. So these vulnerable people who are, so I'm re-experiencing the emotions. I'm an emotional manifester, so I gotta go feel these experiences to be able to translate them to you. So I just had to take a deep breath because I was close to tears at feeling the emotions that I felt as I was seeking God and encountered all this godliness that was not God, but was pretending to be God and monetizing off of pretending to be God. So when I got in touch and was brought into awareness of my spiritual gifts, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to follow that path. My father is a pastor, and I am not confirming nor denying his godness, because he got a... Anyway, so my father is a pastor, and I don't talk to him at the moment because when I talk to him, the human conflict is too much. And I was still navigating how to deal with men in general, in authority in particular, and men of God specifically. So when I would talk to my father, human father, I would get into a tizzy, and you can see the emotions are starting. So basically he had me fucked up. He had me fucked up because he thought that because he, the lowercase father, was older and the pastor for most of my life, or connected to church, religion, spirituality for most of my life, he, lowercase, thought that he, lowercase, was bigger than I, God, H-E-R, capital H-E-R. So women, our gifts come with us when we're born. Transgender women know that there are gifts in her, capital H-E-R. So this transgender, capital H, capital E, capital R, these transformations are so that these men who are becoming aware and awake are getting closer to her naturalness. So they are finding any means necessary and through the means of their experiences and knowledge to get closer to their herness, their connectedness to God, her, Godhood. Okay, so several things. So the men who are not considering transgenderness or gay or anything to get into their femininity through gender and sexuality, you are getting into your herness through the ways that are possible for you. So a lot of y'all, going back to the fat black bitch God that y'all are fucking, are gonna fuck around and find out that them fat black bitches are going to be your route into God. But first y'all have to understand what the fuck y'all doing to them, what you're doing to you, and what you're doing to God by the way that you treat them. So while y'all out here fucking, y'all also gonna fuck around and find out how it feels to A, treat people badly the way that you've been treating them, and B, how it feels to be treated the way that you really want to be treated, because I have been given a course to teach fat black bitches how to fuck their feelings. And in learning how to fuck their feelings, they're going to learn how to transmute being fucked by lowercase g gods and then being fucked as a god or by a god, whichever way it goes. So, okay, I had to get that out. And I'll be taking a lot of focus to translate, so you'll see me take a deep breath. The dogs are outside, which are also getting me connected to nature, her, capital H, capital E, capital R. But in Egypt, I gotta keep getting back on track between the story I, human, are trying to tell and the message they are needing y'all to know at the moment. So in Egypt, I asked the grandson to walk with me to the gas station, and I think he said, no, we're not supposed to go or something. So me, quote unquote uncultured hood girl, got loud and boisterous, and everybody who was on the trip was pretty much in the cafeteria. That includes Pastor Wright, his family, I think his wife, daughter, grandson that I talked about, some other people. Asa Hilliard was also on the trip with us, so he and his wife may have been in there. But it was a bunch of people in there, so I got all loud in my uncultured God self and was like, I go by myself, I don't need y'all. And everybody looked up at me, and I saw it happening, but I was too committed to stop. And I was too committed to stop because I guess innately I knew that it served a purpose or was going to serve a purpose. But also, when we get caught up in our feelings and lose our self in ourself, we don't know when to stop. So you can hear and have probably experienced some people telling you, you talk too much, you too much, I can't do you, you always doing the most. Like, some of y'all have had that experience, and the reason is that people, and even yourself, had not yet seen, capital S, who you, capital Y, truly are, capital A. So don't worry about what people say. You internalized it, you felt it, you've created, and some trauma has been created within you, but I'll show you. I will show you how to transmute that so that you can come into your God is, your Goddess, your God did, your true nature. So Egypt, I flipped out. So Asa Hilliard, he was there. In my extra AF reading, she talked about, remember she talked about me being in Egypt, and she talked about me having healing hands, and some Virgo placements. So in tropical astrology, I am a Virgo sun, 10th house.
Piper,
And
Piper, come. Come on, Piper.
you need to take them all in.
Piper, come. Piper.
In sidereal astrology, I am a Virgo stellium 11th house, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Pluto. So Extra AF talked about healing hands, and you just saw an example of how we have trained my husband to let me do what I do without interference. I'll tell you about that in a second. But Extra AF talked about my healing hands. So in Egypt, which she also discussed, Asa Hilliard was there. And before going, we had all gotten vaccinations. I don't think we're going to talk about vaccinations because that's pro-choice. So whatever you decide, there is no wrong answer. And that's our stance on that from my perspective. The human Delia having the God experience. And the message, capital M, that I was capital C called to share with capital Y or you. So Asa Hilliard was there. And we were all vaccinated for malaria and whatever diseases mosquitoes carry before we went. I don't know what happened, but Asa Hilliard wound up contracting malaria while we were in Egypt. So I saw him and his wife and their security guard coming into the hotel lobby, and I walked over to them and I was like, do you need anything? Because my human experience has molded me into being a capital S servant. Although, as Extra AF pointed out, the humanity made me a lowercase people-pleasing servant. So I, in my capital N nature, went over to Asa Hilliard and asked, and his wife, and I talked to her because he was in really bad condition, and I was like, do you need anything? And remember, we're not supposed to go to the gas station alone, but I am capital I, capital A, who, capital I, capital A, I am. So I was like, yeah, I need anything, I can go get y'all some Gatorade. And they're like, no, cause blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'll go get you some Gatorade. Let me know your room number. So they gave me the room number. I went over to the gas station and back with no problem, no protection, lowercase p, because I, capital A, am capital P, protected. And that's something that I've known all my life. So all the risky shit that I would do, remember my posture, all the risky shit the human body would do, people were always afraid of me getting into trouble or me getting into some kind of danger. And I, the God in human form, knew that I was protected and didn't have to worry about anything. So I walked over to the gas station with no incident, and I'm like, okay, why are people trying to keep us in fear? Like, I didn't make this connection until now, but we're on a church trip with a church and people that talks about the liberation of black folk, being unashamedly, unapologetically, on whatever else, Christian and black, yet they were tricked into putting fear into us. That's interesting to come out, but it's the truth. So even the connected capital C preachers and teachers and gurus and oracles and whatever else we appear as on earth still are humans with tendency to flaw in our human thinking. So everybody was fearful of going to the gas station, which was from here to a mile, where y'all saw me make that video when I got stung by the cactus. That's about how far the walk from the hotel door to the gas station door was. So it wasn't very far. but we were taught to be afraid and fearful and not go out in pairs like we were some toddlers or some elementary school students. But the fear was propaganda, because America teaches us to fear being outside of America so that we won't fear being in America, even though more fearful things have happened to me in America than in all of my 20 plus years of traveling abroad. And I stayed in a job that I hated to get that traveling experience long enough to tell you about it in this video. So thank y'all for that revelation, capital I. So Asa Hilliard, I went over, got the Gatorade, came back, took it to their room. He was in bad condition. She didn't even open up the door fully, but she gave me I gave her the bottle. She thanked me, blessed me, and everything. In my spirit, I knew that he was not going to make it, because I have a knack for knowing, capital N, shit, like when people are going to die. And I've shared that gift with some people, like my cousin Danielle Hackett, whose father Ricky was waiting for her to be okay with his dying. So I told her how to go in there and talk to him, and let him know it's okay, you can leave, we're gonna be okay, blah blah blah. And I learned that through the passing of my grandmother, Futha, on my father's side. So Futha she lives everywhere currently, but when she was alive, she lived in Marianna, Arkansas. So we were going down there. I can't remember if we went because she was sick or she happened to get sick while we were down there. But when I was in the hospital room with her, she kept looking up toward her right. So she was laying in the bed. So she's laying in the bed facing this way, and she kept looking up into the right corner of the room. And I was like, Grandma, who do you see? And she saw her sister and she saw her husband. She either said it aloud or I knew to ask her if that's who she saw, and she agreed to seeing them, because she was close to them. And I don't even know if she had a sister, but there was one lady, and I keep asking my father who she was. I wrote it down in my notes for this moment, I guess, so I can look it up if it matters. But if it really matters, they'll let me know. But there was a woman in the attic when my grandmother lived in Gary, and she had some long braids or long hair and very Indian, Native American-like features and cheekbones from what I can remember. So I need to get in touch with my Native American roots. They'll give it to me so that I can get the perks of being Native American and misclassified as Black American, African American, etc. Since Native Americans got the reparations that are being kept from Black people. Hashtag Black PRP. Thank y'all. So my grandmother had the lady in her attic, so that might have been the lady that she was talking to, and I don't know if that was her mother, sister, or something, but she was talking to a female relative or looking at a female relative and her husband when she kept staring up into the right corner of the room. So I was like, Grandma, I give you permission to go. I know that you're holding on because you think the family needs you or the family needs you, but everybody's going to be okay. You have done your job, so if you are ready to go, not if you think you should go, but if you are ready to go, then go. The people left here will be okay, and I wasn't lying. I was getting a message, as was just reminded to me now, but I was getting the message to help her pass into that phase of her life, the next chapter, if you will, of her life. Extra AF explained the Akashic record, and I say record singular because if you consider the Akashic record as what we know of as a human library, the library contains all of the text. You don't call it I'm going to the libraries, even though we black people in our AAVE is love life. Will pluralize some things that don't need it, like Akashic records. There is a single Akashic record that holds all of the chapters of all of our lives. So Extra AF mentioned, as she checked my Akashic record and my purpose for this incarnation, she mentioned my connection to humanity through my healing hands and my words. I don't know if she mentioned that, but I do connect to them through my words. They, capital C, connect me to capital T, them, capital T, through capital M, my capital W words. So I'll be having to get the delineation and the capitalization correct so that there is never any conflagration between I, the human, having a human experience, and I, the human, capital H, who knows, capital K, that I am, capital I, capital A, living, capital L, A, capital H, capital E, human experience. And translating that into proper English from AAVE or I, VE, I, vernacular English, I've, I apostrophe VE. So all these word plays come into play. So I, the human, got practice through my grandmother Futha and encouraging her to take the next step in her life, capital L. So through that experience, I was able to do the same thing the last time that I talked to my grandfather, Kenzie, who is my maternal grandmother's baby daddy, who took me on as a granddaughter without the extended step granddaughter and all the other labels. So Kenzie and Claude, one of my mother's friends, showed me through the male perspective on how I, as a human female, can be accepted in a man's life without any strings attached. So, okay, I'm gonna cry because I have special relationships with both of them. Crying is okay. There is a time and a purpose for crying, but if I spend time crying right now, I know the emotions that I need to convey, so I don't have to waste my time, capital M, capital T, by crying on screen. Even though I have a video that I will share, I've been keeping it in my pocket for this divine timing, DT, capitals, to share, capital S. But there is a time and a place for emotions. If I spend time going through the emotions in the screen rather than translating capital T, the emotions, capital E, then I lose you. But I can give you the point of don't be afraid to cry in public. If you post a video and tears come through you, but you haven't yet learned capital S, self-control, like I have learned, then let them flow because they serve a purpose for you and the humanity that will see you, because your capital H, human, capital E experience comes through as you emote and share and process how you are able to go through those experiences and emotions. Okay, so Kenzie and Claude, very dear to my heart. I would cry, but that's a waste of capital M, capital T, my time. So they showed me, the human female, that I can be loved without attachments. Other experiences in my life had shown me differently, starting with my father and his relationship with my mother, and the karma of his relationships with other women that are in his life, or I don't make mistakes, with other women that are in his life, capital A-R-E, because some of the women who are no longer in his life are still karmically connected to his life, because he, the lowercase he, going through the human experience, still coming to grips with his own God self, even as a preacher. So Don't listen to what the fuck preachers be telling you, because all of them don't be knowing that ye are gods, even though they'll read that text and trick you, because that's how they've been tricked into believing that the he that is God is a capital H he that is in the sky somewhere, and also trick you into not believing that he, capital H, that is God, capital I, capital G, is also in the hell that they try to fear, that they try to scare you away from. Okay. So my father has some karma to go through. And this is karma in the traditional sense that we've come to know it. We won't get into, at this moment, the nuances of karma and the different definitions of the karmic cleansing that needs to happen for us to transmute generational traumas. So I mentioned earlier that my relationship with my father at this stage of my growth is non-existent because he ain't ready. Earlier today, I was in the house explaining something to my husband, and he ain't ready either, but we have been training him to get ready, as you saw when he came outside and didn't have an attitude about me making this long ass video. So we have been preparing him by speaking through Delia the human and teaching her how to communicate, how to inform as a manifester, her growing connections, capital C, to us, capital U. So this is a human again talking, so I, thinking and imagining and picturing myself talking to this large audience, because that's a dream that they gave me. So I practice on being on a large stage so that I can know how to remain in my godness as I encounter humanity and help spread this capital M message that people have historically been killed for. Witches in particular, women specifically. So when I first started getting connected to my gifts in 2018, my husband was interfering a lot unintentionally. He wanted me to focus on our family, and him as a wife and my son as a mother, and do the human things that a wife and mother are expected to do. But I, all-seeing I, had different plans for me, the human. So I started going into some experiences that needed to shape me into who I am, capital I, capital A. So y'all gonna have to figure out who talking and when, because it takes extra effort for me to let y'all know. So I, the human, is talking. And if I look off and sound distant, then they are probably talking. So I, the human, went through some shit in 2018 that pushed me out of my corporate job. Fear kept me in, or it took me back to the job, because I wasn't ready yet to let go of the generational traumas that were blocking my path. That's a mission that I just made to myself and spoke aloud to you, so that it can be solidified, taught, and transmuted for myself and for others. And that's how they teach me. So my husband was, when I wrote the book, I Am a Genius, I took out so much time, and he was worried that I was not eating, I wasn't drinking, like I was truly connected, capital C, to spirit, capital S, but I was afraid to say it at that time because that shit sounds stupid and people gonna think I'm crazy. So at that time I questioned whether or not I was crazy, but they told me to write down my thoughts, everything that I thought. So the book ain't gonna make sense because I don't know how to channel. I don't know how to do what I'm doing now, where I can separate the human experience from the God experience. So my shit was crazy, but I published it anyway, and it was a thin ass book where New York Times bestsellers, which that is going to be one day. I said it back then, but y'all didn't kill me. But New York Times bestsellers, them be some thick tomes, some large ass books that take you hours and hours to read. The lessons that came through me were quick, and I even didn't understand them as I was going through them, and I've been afraid to do what I told myself to do in the book, and that was to use that book for my prosperity, my liberation, my reparations. I didn't do that because I was scared. I was dealing with the generational blockage that humans are not gods. So for me to come out in public and say that I am God, for me to come out in public and say that God speaks through me because God is me, like, I couldn't do that, even though I tinkered with it. And in the book, near the end, you'll see the epilogue, or whatever the closing of a book is called, that I softened it. I called it some kind of writing. Automatic writing is a word for it. I forgot what it's called. But that book gave me so many avenues for success, but I was afraid to take any of them. And all of those avenues were along my path of least resistance, along the things that my human self found easily as easy ways to complete, capital C, my purpose, capital P, capital M for mine as well. But I was so programmed to be afraid. I was programmed not to stand out, because in the Black experience, in the female woman experience, standing out, like not wearing a bra, is dangerous. So we literally get killed as Black people, as women, as females, as female identifying males. We get killed for standing out. So we have found that hiding in the closet, which R. Kelly, a fallen god, in the sense of the devil as we know it, R. Kelly put out some amazing music, and I think Lucifer, the devil, angel, fallen angel, was a musician. So R. Kelly, interestingly enough, incarnated to show us how the Luciferian archetype came into existence. So my husband and I got into so many fights because I, in my humanness, was holding on to the idea, and this is them showing me my experience. I was holding on to the idea that R. Kelly needs to be punished because of what he did in relation to young girls, young women, hurt women, shameful women, abused women. Even if they were of age, they weren't ready to be fucking around with a God who didn't know that he was God. And it's a lot of that going on in this world. And that's why the fat Black bitches gotta learn how to fuck their feelings and show these men how to fuck around and find out who God is. So R. Kelly, me and my husband would get into it because I was on the bandwagon of, we can't listen to his music, we can't sing his songs. I've gone through that with Starbucks, Home Depot, and corporations that also don't know their place in the God experience. So R. Kelly is going to have an awakening, and the people who are against him currently, rightfully so, because that's where you are in your life, but the people who are against him currently are going to have to come to a reckoning of our humanity and how all of us express shit through our humanity that ain't about the right. So it's gonna be justice for R. Kelly in all senses of the phrase. So justice for him is happening right now while he is incarcerated and going through everything that he's going through. And justice for R. Kelly, the God, will come once the human awakens to his godness and atones for his quote-unquote human sin.
Hyper.
Okay. It just so happens that my husband wanted breakfast and I'm outside cooking. He ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich already. So these are the ways that we've trained him to let us be. So these are the ways that we have trained him to let us be. And I got some calendar events coming up. So if I'm supposed to be meeting with you, then you just gonna have to be on and leave a message. And this is your message right here that you're meant to be receiving. So my husband, I just so happen to have everything cooking slowly. He's eating already, so he ain't pressed about being hungry. It's cool outside in Arizona, even though the bugs are still out, but he ain't pressed about the dogs being out in the sun. One of our dogs shouldn't be out here, but he's watching her because he knows that I'm cooking. And I've told him that my purpose is going to take me away from him. This is funny, I have a t-shirt slogan that came to me in relation to this as I was setting up to cook. But in relation to him and the family life and family time that he's looking for, I am going to be pulled away because I have my business to handle, and I can't put my business aside any longer for human family business. But in training or in learning how to train him, he don't bother me. So like coming in and out, not concerned about what I'm doing or how long it's taking or even what I'm saying.
Come get it. Piper, come. Not you, Jazz.
Not you, Jazz. So I can be out here without us beefing. So today I was trying to explain to him before I came out about how life, capital L, works in a way that we don't really see it. But he has his own experiences that he's living through. So the way that he views things and knows to view things is different from mine. But as I said before, God is diverse, nature is diverse. There are multiple ways that God expresses God's self, herself, through humanity, capital H. So what are we talking about? So I got my food cooking, my sausages. I forgot all about the cooking part of the show because I have things going low and I can focus on you and not the food. So my sausages are almost finished. I gotta cook these eggs. But the t-shirt slogan that I had went something along the lines of he, lowercase, ain't my business. He, capital H, is capital I. And the reason that it's like that is because the human he that's still going through his human experience ain't my business. My connection to the God he, in particular the God he that I am married to, is my business. So connecting with people on their God level and your God level will allow life to work through you as it is intended. But when I get into explaining myself on a human level, shit get fucked up because God don't come down to meet you. You gotta elevate your thoughts and your beliefs and your way to God. So I have to stay in her peace to maintain the peace around me. So when I am doing God's business, like cooking, like writing or singing, making social media content, then that is my priority, capital P. I did a TikTok video that said, fuck you and this relationship, and that's really what that meant. I can't be focused on a relationship if I'm not in relationship. What's that dance? This is the in relationship dance. I don't be practicing dancing. Even though we can dance, the human still gotta loosen her body up to get them moves. So twerkers, sex workers, babies with all of this natural rhythm are connected, capital C, to their godness. So sex workers, people who enjoy sex, people that learn the magic of sex, are people who can more easily connect to their God nature because they connect to their God body. our bodies have been a source of shame in our humanity for so long, rightfully so, or not, purposefully so. So if a human can be programmed out of their God body, then their God nature, their God mind will be disconnected, because the body speaks the language of nature. The body moves like the tree. The mind moves like the material monkey. The monkey mind is what we learned to call it in the yoga practices. So the mind moves like a monkey. The body has the ability to move like the water. So the water can calm the most rambunctious animal down. So your mind is a super rambunctious animal through which you learning the fluidity of your body, learning the movements of your body, learning how to twerk in your body, learning how to do all of the sensual arts in your body, like pole dancing, stripping, people who get into themselves through an OnlyFans account, learning how to become okay with yourself, how to love yourself, as Extra AF told me I needed to embody in my reading, my Akashic record reading, learning how to become one with yourself, capital S, is what is going to liberate you, the chosen ones. A few months ago, I was given the message, and I posted it on Twitter. I posted it everywhere for sure, because that's around the time when I started posting my TikTok content on Twitter. It automatically goes to Instagram and Facebook. So I mentioned black and what that means. So black, as I was taught to use it, is not the singular race. That is the capital R race, the human race. The ones, capital O, capital T, who know, capital N, that they, capital T, all of these words are capital because we are talking about the ones who know that they are God. So that is the black race. We have demonized the human version, the Americanized version of the black race to make it look like me. So that people who look like me are targeted and killed. Even people who are associated with people who look like me, such as my husband, who grew up in the same hood that I did by chance, because his life experiences took him from one trajectory to the hood experience that he needed in order to become his own God. So, but people who look like me are hunted, persecuted, demonized, weaponized against one another because we've been mistaught.
Bell, come.
The miseducation
Bell,
of
come.
Lauryn Hill and the
Chico Bear,
miseducation
come.
of the Negro.
Bell, come.
Go.
Bell, come.
Go. Go.
Bell,
Bell,
come.
home, home, home. Mama, home.
Come.
Home. Home. No.
Mama will
Jazz.
stay.
Okay. So I got in his business when I could have stayed in mine. But sometimes I still get thrown off because he ain't fully aware, just like I only recently became aware of what my business actually is. So I get tongue-tied because the human me is used to conforming to what society thinks the God me should be. So I don't realize that I don't have to stutter when people who don't get me or my message come
Chico,
around.
come.
I need to stay
Chico.
true
Come, good boy.
and in the
Come, Chico,
place
come.
of who I
Good
am.
boy,
I
come.
need to remain
Come on,
in her
come.
peace like I am exhibiting it now with a quick turnaround. I need to remain in my peace, in her peace, and I, third eye, God eye, peace, no matter who's around. But that's something that, knock on wood, I'm pretty sure that I've embodied because I've experienced it, I've felt it, I've shown you how it can be done. So once I show y'all something with a true understanding, then I can stick to it because that means that I, capital N, know it. So that whole fear, shyness thing, I was watching a program last night with my husband, and it's called It's about Uber, and I think it's on Showtime, and it's called I don't know what it is, but look it up. It's a current docu-series about Uber, and that character, the main character, the guy who started Uber, was on a real ego trip. And as I was watching it last night, I started looking at him through my God eyes and was like, that is the confidence that we need, but need to be able to balance the ego part of it, because God, the true God, don't have the ego that the God of the Bible and the God of humanity, lowercase h, that we've been taught that God has. So just thinking about the possibility of going live and how more interactive that'll be when that happens. So y'all need to make sure that y'all like my content on all of my platforms under all of my many names, because when Spirit want to do something, we don't have time for humanity and its practices to slow us down. So the confidence without the ego is the God self. So yes, ego exists, ego serves a purpose, but ego does not drive our actions unless we are outside of her peace. But you'll see in my content, like, shit'll get jumped off, but it ain't ego driven. It's God driven, because God is diverse. So the Bible got it right in the sense that God will jump shit off, but it was taught in a way of an egoic male God who didn't embody peace really until Jesus Christ consciousness came along. And look at how they picture Jesus. Jesus has long hair, look low-key gay, transgender, etc. So Jesus looks like the people that y'all hate. And not only because Jesus is a black person, and I never explained fully what black meant, so we'll get to that, but not only because Jesus is a black person, but Jesus is also a queer appearing person. So as much as we hate black people, we hate the members of the LGBTQIAA plus community. So black. I don't like using the phrase BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C, because it does not get to the root. So yes, the black human race, along with other quote-unquote minorities, has been persecuted. But the reason even those other minorities are persecuted is because of their proximity to blackness, capital B. Always capitalize black when you are talking even about the black human race, because blackness, capital B, is Godness. God is black. So even people with Caucasian skin can be God, and they can become God just like people with any color skin, because they will need to come into awareness, capital A, of how God has been treated throughout God's tenure on earth in this most recent era as a black, capital B, human, lowercase h. So we've treated God on earth as he ain't shit. And this is the God that y'all were taught to worship, the God that everybody refers to and references as he, the God that even maybe DJ Khaled is speaking of in his most recent album. God did. So God did know that I would be using DJ Khaled's own platform to prosper women, that women are the God is, goddess in Espanol, God is, goddess. The God did that DJ Khaled references is that God did bring her, capital H, capital E, capital R, to her God status, so that she, capital S-H-E, could take over and reign and bring peace, capital P, onto the world, as has been predicted. Okay, so that was deep. So I told y'all about black and why it should always be capitalized, and how black encompasses not only people who look like me, but people who look like me as the God that I am, capital I, capital A. So in Egypt, I was a part of Asa Hilliard's transition into his next life. That experience helped me with my grandmother, then my grandfather, then allowed me to practice what I learned on my cousin Danielle through her dad Ricky, and I in turn created a witness in my own image through Danielle as she spread the way to help people transition. So lately it's been a lot of people in my purview that have been transitioning. So if you are around a transitioning person, make sure that you let them know that it is okay for them to continue with their next chapter of life as a non-physical being if they are ready for that. None of us should hold on to life because of survivors. So I took that breath because I was presented with the picture of suicide and all of the people who think about suicide, attempt suicide, and are successful with suicide or even the killing of other people. Everybody makes a choice on when they leave. So the examples that I was shown to give to you is of people that were on their deathbed because of natural or health-related causes. Some people take their own life or the lives of others before what humans believe is the proper time. But all time is proper, capital P, divine time. So even babies who die, they chose to appear on earth for that short period of time for the survivor's sake, and also for their own sake as a God being experiencing life through earth. So humans, the Bible tells us through Jesus, I think it asks, why do we mourn the way sinners mourn or something? And I stopped going to funerals. I think the last funeral that I went to was my Aunt Maybell's, and I attended my Aunt Mariana's online. But I stopped going to funerals after Mariana's because I realized that it is not good for me, for God, to be sitting amongst people that are consciously choosing to mourn, that are consciously choosing to put themselves and their spirits in places of fear, low-level anxiety, depression, and all the things that we as humans are taught is okay as you're mourning. So because many of us are still in our humanity, it's necessary for us to experience that, because as I said before, we need to learn how to emote, and we need to learn how to bring others through their emotions. So the Black experience has been one of turmoil, of strife, of persecution, of just hard shit that we have learned to live through. So it's no coincidence that the Black race is starting to thrive again. And this, remember, includes Black people, indigenous people, other people of color, including the color white, because even the white people who are descendants of who are descendants of enslaved holders, or who are descendants of people who enslaved other people, and ADOS, African descendants of slavery, which I think a better term, I can't remember exactly what I was led to tweet back when I started talking about this, but Black descendants of slavery rather than African descendants of slavery is what we should really start focusing on, at least from a perspective of our Black personal reparations plan. Now ADOS is doing the work for a collective plan, and that collective plan is necessary because everybody is not going to step into their God shit and create and believe in the possibility of a Black personal reparations plan coming through. I didn't fully believe in it until, we'll just say yesterday, when I really started capital B believing in E, every T capitalized thing yesterday and this latest experience through my God self led me to start believing that everything is good and perfect. I've said that in some way before. I believed it lowercase, I knew it lowercase, but I didn't know it, capital K, until I embodied it and stepped into my full godness over this past 20 or however many hours, not even that much, but you've witnessed it because I posted about it. So people will transition naturally, or they will transition themselves when their time on this earth for this human experience is over. So stop crying over that shit. Like, it's a reality, and I know it's harsh for me to say stop crying, but my husband has taught me how to give tough love. I was very love and light early on in my transition because that's what I thought I needed to be. But love and light, lowercase love and light, and capital L love and light goes a long way. But it's some love, light, and some talking shit up in there because that is how the Black experience has been. Because of the way that we were ostracized and segregated and separated, we created our own love language known as African American Vernacular English, or AAVE. So when Spirit speaks, Spirit is going to speak to us in a way that we understand. So all of us with the Black experience, capital B, Black, capital E experience, the experience of the hood, and we'll just capitalize that H as well because it is a blessed place to have grown through. So those of us who experience the hood know AAVE, even though we all have our own way of speaking it, our own dialects, just like there are many ways of speaking all human languages, Chinese, English, French, Slovakian. But in the Black experience, we have all of that through our different dialects, experiences, and ways of seeing and interpreting the life around us. So we come up basically with what humans call slang. So our love language is spoken amongst all of us. And I was just telling a woman, her name is Christina, who I met in 2018 through Facebook and Human Design. We actually recorded a podcast that I think she's going to release Monday in our group called African Caucasia, capital A, capital C. When I was talking to her, we would get into it about race relations as I would try to explain to her that Black people cannot be racist, that quote-unquote minorities, especially in America, cannot be racist because we don't have the power. We have the power, capital P-O-W, all caps H-E-R, but we haven't realized it yet. So we are disempowered. We don't believe that we have the power to be on par with the white experience. So a lot of us feel like we are less than white people, and I can speak this because I lived it. So I'll speak from my own experiences so as not to step on any toes, because now ain't the time to do that. Even though when God speaks, she gonna step on some toes because some of us need some tough love, like myself. So the human way of teaching tough love is through violence. From the cradle, we get told to stop crying, or we gonna wake the house up. Be quiet, or the neighbor's gonna hear you. Stop talking when grown folks are talking. Don't let them white folks hear what you say. We gonna get lynched, we gonna get killed, you gonna get kicked out of school. So Black people are silenced early on, so our voices have been disempowered. We are coming into our power, capital P as I've spelled out many times, but we're getting there. We're not quite there yet. You can see some of us are getting there. More and more of us are getting there quicker and quicker, and bringing people along. Some people through TikTok, Facebook, all of social media and all of my interactions through reading books, even those of white people, even those of white women who borrow from black people like Byron Katie, allegedly. So we are coming into our own, and we are remembering that our blackness is not a detriment. Our blackness is not a punishment. Our blackness is a blessing that has been disguised as a curse. So let me check my food. So as we are coming into this awareness, this is the human me talking, as we're coming into our awareness, then we are stepping into our power. I am fresh in my power, so I will be teaching a lot. You'll notice that when new teachers come out or new products come out, there's a lot of advertising. Pusha T and Fat Joe, which I only know because I looked it up for a post this morning, have a song that mentions today's prices are not yesterday's prices. So y'all getting the today God is at today's prices. So I'll be putting out a lot of free content. Not a lot. I'll be putting out less free content because I've already given away a lot of free content. But my content is going for affordable prices right now. On Patreon, I have it set up to receive money. I have a course in Her Peace that has been created to receive money, and I was given a course this morning after fucking my husband, or making love, as we say in the marital scope, with my husband, called Fat Black Bitches Fuck Your Feelings, or whatever variation we'll finally use for that. And what you're seeing now is another monetized service. I'll probably put snippets of this up, maybe if I feel like editing, on free platforms. I'll put the first 3 minutes up, or 3 minutes through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok once they stop fucking with my accounts. So TikTok and Facebook flagged content for me saying fat black bitches, and I wrote back, we wrote back, like, tell us what is offensive about this term. What have you been created, as in AI, artificial intelligence, running these systems, and taught, as in humans that are doing the work of programming or living the life of AI? What have y'all been created and taught to think about the term fat black bitches, which is a term that y'all created to demonize fat black bitches, God? So y'all lowercase fat black bitches instead of honoring God as a fat black bitch. So what is it in y'all programming that have y'all flagging my content for saying this? So I'm not gonna check social media until I'm ready to put this up, I guess. But I want to see what they say, and we'll have proof of how the systems is working against black people, against the way that we talk and speak, as has been criticized by black content creators across the platforms. I never intended to be in this fight. When I would see black content creators saying that stuff, I, the human, was like, don't worry about that, because we gonna be straight. You know, we gonna put our content out and it's gonna do what it's gonna do because it is inspired. So I knew enough to capital K know that we was gonna be good, because through my experiences I've always known that I have been good. I've been protected, capital P. So I had enough awareness, capital A, to know, capital K, that we didn't have to worry about all that. But I didn't recognize that God was going to use my platform and my post being restricted to add to the validity and credulity of black content creators, both male and female. So in the woke, quote unquote, social media spaces, you'll see that there are men aligning with her, she, they, female, nature, God, goddess, goddess. So you'll see that men, especially black men, are really supporting Black females, women, girls, femininity, and our stepping into our godness. So a lot of Black males are under the misinterpretation that they are being persecuted by Black women. You are not being persecuted by Black women. You are simply feeling how Black women have felt when it comes to your protection or not of Black women. And it's not your fault. It is the system that humanity has created, especially in America, with how Black males are treated. Black men are historically taken from the home in one way or another. In modern times, we'll point to welfare as being an issue, but it starts with our being enslaved, whether by Africans or non-Africans. And yes, there is a difference in the ways that we were treated, but for the purposes of this message, all enslavement is equal. So we can stop that fight at least long enough to come together as Blackness, as Black humanity, as Black humans, to restore the balance within our community and with those adjacent to and affiliated with our community. So to interpret that, we have to stop the fight that has been perpetuated between us and our Black community, starting with the lies in modern times of Black on Black crimes, and accept and acknowledge and understand that the enslavement of our people has affected the entire world. And Christina and I talk about this on our podcast through our first episode of African Caucasia. I think it was called Dismantling Racism by Bridging the Schism Between Races. That's what I wanted to call it, but Christina, through her marketing, following what she knows to do through marketing and messaging, changed it to something else. So you'll hear my thoughts of how things should be and how we compromised, because that's a part of our healing, how we compromised with Christina, we as in the God, we compromised with Christina to allow the episode to come out in a way that she, Christina, could understand. And this is my first time hearing capital H that. So that episode that's going to come out is not the full message that we would give, but is one that society is ready to hear as we dismantle racism through getting rid of the race schism, the race divide, the race split that has been created, and also the gender and sexuality schism that has been created. So once Black people realize who we are and get right in our position as gods and with gods, get our minds realigned, capital A, with what God is, what God really is, and what God did, in DJ Khaled's words, through us in our humanity, in our existence as Black people, then we will start to heal our community, our families, the world, the earth, and get back in her peace and know how to remain in her peace. So this meal is taking forever to cook because we had something to say, and because they know that my body digests food at cold temperatures, because in human design I was designed to be cold thirst. They know that they can have me cooking on low temperatures. My husband has been trained to satisfy his human needs so that when his God, me, comes to fulfill his God, him, needs, then we gonna be straight. But our human existence has to be apart but together sometimes, and that's why I've talked about that on my social media pages, most recently with the post "Fuck You and This Relationship." So that's another example of how to incorporate that into your life. But I am cold thirst, so my food is cold as fuck because we've been standing outside talking, and it was necessary. It was needed. It was needed for me to express my new relationship with God. It was needed for me to do what I have been told, called to do, and that is share her cooking skills as exhibited through me and my eclectic taste and the techniques that they show me, and the recipes that they give me in my what if moments. But it was necessary, it was needed. So my body is going to be okay with eating cold food. All my husband wanted was some sauteed spinach, which sauteed kale, which I haven't brought out yet. So that'll be hot and fresh if he is hungry. So this is a way that God works through us, through me, to keep my family in her peace. Because remember, if y'all look back, I talked about divorce and how he's called the divorce lawyer and missed appointments several times. So y'all who believe in LOA, law of attraction, law of, what is it? Law of affirming. No, whatever the other LOA that I recently learned about is. But if y'all believe in persisting in the narrative that you want to see, if you believe in focusing on what you want to have rather than focusing on what you don't have or what is missing, then y'all have to help me prove to my husband in his human experience that God really is me and God really does speak and work through me. So by doing that, you will support the different platforms that I have been given. You will support any course that I create, because you know that you sow a seed and receive a blessing in turn. That is how the law of attraction works. So those of you who have been given tithes to the preacher man can now send that over to the preacher woman who is being used to give you a new earth message. It's funny to call myself a preacher and to speak in those terms, because it's something that I wrestled and fought and rebelled and ran away from. Satin Map, one of my early developers, if we speak of myself as a computer awakening from a sleep state. Satin Map, M-A-P-P, on Facebook, along with the teachers who taught her, capital T's, capital H, gave me a reading mentioning that spirit had been trying to get in touch with me, but I had been running from it. So every time I get a reading, or in the past, every time I got a reading, I would feel really hype about it. I would be like, yes, I feel this, I hear it, I understand it, because I did on some level, but on the human level, I was not yet ready to embody it. I was like, oh shit, I can't do it, as opposed to the excited, oh shit, we doing it mentality that I have come to embody. So when Satin gave me the reading, I wasn't ready to hear it. When I paid extra AF for the reading, had she delivered it last month when she was supposed to deliver it, we got to stop penalizing black companies for being on black people time, because they've been penalized enough. The reason there even is a black people time is based on the penalties that we receive because of our blackness. So we have to stop that cycle. And I was born, capital B, to talk about black reparations. So remember, black people, we have work to do in the house, but black people, as in the chosen people, have work to do in the world. So back to those who believe in the law of attraction, the law of assumption, which is the one I couldn't remember earlier, and the universal laws in general. Our black personal reparations will come through one another, because we are the capital B believers. We are the believers that when we sow a seed, it comes back to us. So we have to support one another's endeavors. So that's why I realized at this moment I would watch people to see whose services were right for me. So Halaval Pele Kofi, Karotha Kofi did an inner vision reading that told me I need to heal my womb, and he's married with kids, but if you look at him, you would assume that he has some queerness about him. And the reason he was born to look that way, the reason that he probably experienced the aberration of being a queer person, even if that is not who he is or how he identifies, because he experienced that based on his looks, he is able to know, capital N, that woman is God, and his message is being put out there from a male perspective, honoring the God in her, his wife, the divinity in women, in womb men. Because of him and his inner vision reading, he put me on another step in my path. So there are so many people and experiences in my life. Tatiana Tarot through Twitter and her Read Yourself to Filth challenge. So these are all people that I secretly spent our family money on. So my husband is very afraid, and he would use a different word if he told the story, which is his right. But in my words, in my knowing, he is afraid that our finances are going to fuck up his legacy, everything that he worked for. So I created, as a human wife, the habit of spending money behind his back because he doesn't believe in tarot cards or astrology or human design. So me using his money, remember I quit my job, so now I'm living since 2020 on his money. So using his money for spiritual services to upgrade my life would not be looked well upon. So I was getting readings in secret. I was buying guap coin through Tavana Evans, whose services are also employed through Aquarius Maximus and her astrology knowledge and cardology teachings and certification. So all of these humans, or gods in human form, have been helping me along my path and preparing the way for me to be who I am. So we have to support our black businesses, but not blindly support. So you watch if you are a person who is concerned about your money. Most of us are scarcity minded, working our way to abundanceville. So if you are still living in the trauma of scarcity, then yes, you, like I did, need to watch with your human eyes the moves of the services you are employing through presumed humans. But if you have your God eyes on, you will know whose services to benefit and who needs your support. So all businesses, whether black, white, or whatever, ain't about the right. They're not about God's business. So use your discernment on knowing who to support. And I'm not just saying that because you are going to support me in my endeavors. I'm saying it because it's capital T, truth, the actual and factual, as TLC would say. So I'm getting these eggs ready because these bugs are coming out. But support black businesses. Remember that God is woman, God is also man, but we know that already. That's been beaten into our heads. We need to, capital K, know that God is woman, because the female experience is not much better, whether black or white, than the black male experience, if it's better at all, especially as a black female. So we got to get on our black business, and it's not the racially divided business that we've been taught it is. It is the God black business that we need to be concerning ourselves with. So my business, which Extra AF, which got me talking about the whole Egypt thing and healing with my Virgo placements, my throat chakra being activated through my human design manifester type, my 6'2" profile being the role model teacher, my 10 clubs cardology being the teacher, my numerology path number 1 being the leader, my God profiles, which is all of those things, including all of the blessings in the Bible. The curses are man-made, used to separate. So we don't fuck with the curses of the Bible, but we do fuck with the blessings. So Bible magic, you can look that up. So it's easy to practice Bible magic. Go in the Bible, read it wherever you open it, and translate everything to yourself. If it's something talking about a demon, that is yourself. You just change the words to be a blessing instead of a curse. They did have me start off translating that, but that's too much work that my human self ain't interested in. So I just told y'all how to do it. So y'all write them affirmations down, create your own Bible, read them aloud if you are a human design manifester. But if you are a human manifester, you also have the ability to speak your power, capital P-O-W, capital H-E-R, into existence. Your words are your power, no matter if your throat chakra is activated or not, because God will use anybody and anything to get the God message across. So there's no need for you to be shy anymore. There's no need for you to hide who you are anymore. We're ready to be. We were born to be. We gonna have to be, or we gonna be fucked up, because shit ain't finna get no better. We can see I'm in Arizona. Arizona has been talking about a water crisis since I moved out here. There's a lizard over there. Hey buddy. So shit is changing in the world. You see fires everywhere. It's talk about the sun being manipulated, being fake, fake clouds, fake news. All this fake shit is being brought to light. So what's done in the dark is being brought to light. So we humans have to decide what side we gonna be on. And I hope that we all choose to be on the God side. And remember, this is not the God that you have been taught about. It is the God that you have directly experienced in your life. It is the God that we were taught was bad, taught that didn't deserve to have a life of leisure, taught that needed to be out in the fields working, whether picking cotton or doing computer work for modern corporations. But it's time for us to get past the lies, to get on our God shit, because when shit hit the fan, we gonna need some God warriors out there. So the connection that I just made and laughed at with my Akashic reading through Extra AF is she talked about me having an orphanage. For years, I have been dreaming about rescuing young adults in an apocalyptic type structure. It wasn't the apocalypse that we see in the Bible, but I knew that it was destruction. In the dream, I was running always. I was always searching for these kids in rooms in abandoned buildings. So when Extra AF, which I just connected now, mentioned about me having a community center or doing something for kids, I knew that she knew, capital she, capital knew, that I, the God, had been given the dream, the calling, the purpose to rescue young adults. in my human mind, it was young women because that was my experience. But now that I recollect the dream, it was young people, period, and anywhere from little to big. So even adults are young people because they haven't matured to their God. So her talking about the community center, I wanted, since I was in high school, a community center called For the People, capital For, capital The, capital People. And it was a place for the people in the hood that I am from, East Chicago, Indiana, to come together. It developed into, as this dream stated, developed into me helping young people in specific because of the way the times are changing based on the dreams that I had been given. So Extra AF mentioning the young people in Egypt is coming into further clarity. When I was in Egypt, that same trip that I told you about earlier with Asa Hilliard dying and with me showing my whole fat black ass in front of Jeremiah Wright and his congregation, in one of our excursions, I came across a young girl and two boys, and I have their picture, I believe, on my Facebook profile. But they came to me in real life as I was sitting on the bus waiting for us to load up and go to the next place. So they came to my window and I was playing with them. I was making faces and I asked through the window, "Can I take your picture?" And they said yes, so I took the picture. But as I saw them, my heart reached out to them because they were too young in my eyes to be having the experience that they were having, even though it was the experience they were having that they were born into. So my heart went out to them, wanting to be able to do more for them than to just take a picture. I didn't have extra money when I went on the trip. My Aunt Nisi, with whom I went, has financed a lot of my trips, a lot of my lifestyle. Her and my other aunts, Mariana and Pat, did not have kids. Daphne did not have a kid until I was in college. So they treated me as their daughter slash sister slash niece, depending on what part of their shit list I was on, if I was on the shit list at all. But so I didn't have money to be over there. So whatever money I had, I was holding on to because I didn't realize that that was scarcity thinking. I didn't realize, even though I had heard it is better to give than to receive, I didn't realize that me holding on and not giving was blocking my blessings from coming through. Abraham Hicks, who I listen to and who also speaks to and through me, as I realized yesterday, I saved one of her videos in her Peace Resources playlist, which y'all gonna have to pay to get. But in one of her videos, she was talking about receiving and allowing, and I had also recently pulled some tarot cards that I talked about on Twitter in relationship to my blessings being blocked because I was not receiving, I was not allowing. Even my Akashic record reading through Extra AF talked about the need for me to make a transition into being a receiver, into putting down my servant's apron and putting on my crown, in our words, not Extra's words, but putting on my crown and receiving the God-like, the queen-like, if you will, Queen Delia, royal treatment. So in Egypt, when I was yearning to be able to help those kids, I didn't realize that I was putting into my vortex, putting into my path, a way to be able to help kids like that. So I didn't recognize my power to empower them at the time, even though I did empower them by interacting with them as humans rather than beggars. So I knew enough to not treat them like they were trash, even though they were dressed like they were trash or like they were paupers or if you think about the Bible, like they were whores or whatever else, or whoever else is demonized in the Bible. So I knew enough then not to treat them like that, but I didn't recognize enough that I could have given them my last dime or whatever currency Egypt uses that I had on me. I could have given them that and still been protected and still been taken care of. It wasn't until this moment that I am getting further clarity and further confirmation that I am taken care of financially, emotionally, mentally. God takes care of me through my human existence. So the connection of kids in Egypt and what I can do for Egyptian kids through what my Akashic reading is being translated to me at this moment is that in America we have Egyptian descendants, black people who have been on the lam from their godness, black people who have been on exile and forced to hide their godness, whose godness has been whipped out of us, and our names have been translated from our original to be from our original multilingual, multilinguistic AAV-ness has been translated into proper Queen's English. So this queen is coming to undo that, to help rewrite the script, to reprogram us from what the Queen and her people of England have taught us, and to come back to what the Queen of Blackness, her highness, knows. So we are being called to come into ourselves. So my connection to kids, to Egypt, will all come through, but on these grounds, these sacred grounds, whom some say were the original Africa. So my Egypt, my people whom I am called to rescue, are here in America. I bloom where I am planted. Now, not to say that I won't travel to the place that we know as Egypt again, or that I won't have affiliations with orphanages in other parts of the country, but for me at this moment, my platform is here, supported by we the people who believe in our connection to God, our godness, our goddessness, our law of attraction, law of assumption, who believe all of those esoteric things. We are the people who are called to render services, and also to break away from even rendering to Caesar what is Caesar's. So I'm even learning how to break away from the corrupt tax system and the other corrupt systems that are put into place. And as I learn, I teach. But right now, I need to get my food from burning. So I did a lot. The next thing I'm gonna do is basic and simple. Y'all don't necessarily need to see that, but I'm gonna leave the camera on because my battery has not died and my memory hasn't fucked up yet. So it's gonna be a long video to upload. So I'm going to show on my social media pages, like I always do, the last bits of my meal. But those who paid for this will get the full 2 hours plus. And those who are in my In Her Piece gonna get some In Her Kitchen freebies. So thank y'all. The one person who officially paid, and my friend who is my cousin Jazz, and the one person who got in for $5 because she saw my video talking about let me hold something. So when I said I was trying to see something, I was really trying to see which of God's chosen would catch the message and partake in the ways that social media can be a part of our Black reparations plan. So Nevi sent me $5 and said I got 5 on it, which makes me think of my sorority sisters, who I went through a lot with, who I didn't appreciate. I didn't appreciate the experience that I had with them until very recently. So a part of our hazing, allegedly, was while I was online, allegedly, to go into a gas station. This is when the song I Got Five on It was popular, and I had to go into the gas station, and three of us had to go into the gas station. It might have been Iona who had to go in there and say I got five on it for some gas and put a nickel on it. And then I had to go into Meijer, the grocery store, and ironically act like I was crazy, act like I was abusing my child, which I wasn't happy about doing it. I'll say it was a harmless prank. We didn't recognize that we were perpetuating a stereotype unknowingly. But the beauty of life and the beauty of all of our experiences is that it brought me to this moment where I can mention the experience of me play abusing a child. I was afraid to have my own child because I had been abused sexually growing up, and I was afraid that I would abuse my child sexually because, as we can see with R. Kelly, that is a possibility. R. Kelly was abused growing up, and he in turn abused people. So I was very afraid to have children because in my mind, in my lower human mind, I was afraid to pass that trauma on. So that affected my relationship with my son. So I abused him in a different way than I pretended to abuse that baby when I was online. But abuse is abuse nonetheless, and child abuse, I guess a part of my Akashic record, is for me to heal. So me healing those 3 kids in Egypt by treating them as humans rather than beggars, me healing my grandson who came to stay with me and was dealing with eczema, and I was given ways to calm his skin and his mind through my touch and my connection to him. So all of these things that I experienced with kids. I talked about my cousin Jody yesterday on Facebook and how she finds my singing random songs annoying. Jody annoyed the fuck out of me when she was little. She always wanted to be around me. Kids always wanted to be around me, but I didn't want kids around me, so I treated them like shit. I'm sorry, it wasn't me. It was me, but it wasn't me. So I treated them like shit. I'll be back. Hold on. So husband is cool. He in there doing whatever he doing. He ain't sweating me taking all day. You saw me walk back and forth because I was deciding on what was the best course of action to get back here as quickly as possible. So I toyed with putting these eggs into the original container, but that was uncooked. So I took some stuff inside, brought the oil back outside with the kale because I needed to I want to cook the kale in some oil. So Jody was annoying growing up. Jody went through a lot in her life, and I think she tells the people that she loves enough of her story for them to get who she is and how she is. But the version that is important for me to talk about in relationship to me and kids is that we were in the back seat one day. My mother was driving, and I don't know who else was in the front seat with her. But Jody and I were in the back seat, or Jody was in the back seat and I was in the front. However it was, Jody kept hitting me with a dowel that she had. And I said, Jody, you hit me again, I'm throwing that dowel out the window. And Jody is a kid, a silly kid. Her daddy is goofy, silly. Her brothers are goofy, silly. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the part of our humanity that's been stripped from us. So we don't look at silliness being godliness, being godness. We look at it as a bad thing because that's what society wants us to believe. So in my thinking, Jody fucking with me was a bad thing. By this time of my life, my heart had been hardened. So I was not connected to the childlike God in me. So I ain't fuck around. So I told Jody, you hit me with this thing one more time, I'm throwing it out the window. Jody, being a child, thought I was playing. And she hit me with it, and I wound the window down. I winded the window down, and I threw the dowel out. We were on the highway, and Jody was crying. That truck came by right then because I needed to pause and acknowledge and refill in awareness the feelings that I was feeling at that time, so that I can convey the message in a way that heals and shows how we can overcome abusiveness in our mindset and acknowledge the ways that our God child has been stripped away from us. Especially those in the black community, especially black females, girls, and goes into womanhood, which explains how we have come to understand to treat black males in our relationships. So Jody threw the dowel at me. Honey, can you grab that lid? And some water. So Jody threw the dowel at me, and I threw it out the window, and I just felt how bad that felt for me at the time. Even though my heart was hardened, I knew that it felt bad, and I was just able to experience that. And I saw how Jody felt. Oh, he's right here. So I saw how Jody felt when I did it. So I was able to experience, thank you, the child abuse from both sides of the spectrum. But now my reparations is to liberate children, save children through my awareness, and to have this, bring this Egyptian orphan experience home to where I am in America. So I am going to stop here, and the free portion of this will be in a separate video as I do a 3-minute TikTok to see what comes up and show you the finished product.